Lao Tzu, the Taoist sage, once said, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." Divination is often misunderstood. To the skeptic, it is nothing more than a parlor trick, a relic of an irrational past, something to be debunked and discarded. To the naive believer, it is an infallible map of the future, a direct hotline to the divine. But to the true practitioner, divination is neither superstition nor prophecy. It is a way of thinking, a method of aligning the mind with the deeper currents of meaning that weave through existence. It is not about knowing the future, but about understanding the present more fully. And at its heart lies one of the strangest and most mysterious concepts in human experience: synchronicity. Carl Jung described synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence and a causal connection between inner and outer events. To someone in a purely mechanistic worldview, the idea seems absurd. If there is no cause, how can there be a connection? But to those who practice divination, this is not a paradox at all. The world is not a dead machine, but a living, speaking reality, a vast field of symbols constantly arranging and rearranging themselves in patterns of significance. When we cast the I Ching, lay out the tarot, or even roll a set of dice to choose a chapter from the Tao Te Ching, we are not imposing meaning onto chaos. We are allowing meaning to emerge. Divination, at its best, is an act of sincere inquiry. It is prayerful, as Marie-Louise von Franz suggests, and not in the sense of grovelling before a deity, but in the sense of asking a question with the full humility of not knowing. It is the opposite of mere wish fulfillment. One does not consult the oracle to hear what one wants to hear, but rather to hear what is true, even if that truth is difficult. This is why the best divinations occur when the question is real, when it comes from a place of genuine need, rather than idle curiosity. It is as if the universe, the unconscious, the Tao, whatever name one wishes to give it, responds to the quality of the question as much as to the question itself. Divination, in its many forms, is a practice that has been accessible to people from all walks of life. It doesn't require special tools or rare skills, just a willingness to engage with the unknown. The mechanics of divination are simple yet profound. Whether using tarot cards, runes, or even simple objects like stones or sticks, the process is about connecting with a deeper sense of intuition. Anyone can learn the basics, and from there, it becomes a personal journey of discovery and insight. The methods of divination vary, but they all share a common thread: randomness. Whether it is the casting of lots, the drawing of cards, or the flipping of coins, there is always an element of chance. To the purely logical mind, this seems nonsensical. How can chance reveal anything but chance? But this is where synchronicity steps in. The point of randomness in divination is not to cause meaning, but to allow it. The unconscious mind, the deeper self, or even something beyond the self, uses the randomness as a canvas on which to project insight. Pattern recognition plays a key role in this process. The human mind is wired to see patterns, to link things together into coherent wholes. This can be a source of delusion, but it can also be a source of profound wisdom. When one draws a tarot card or receives a hexagram from the I Ching, the symbols themselves carry layers of meaning, but the way they are interpreted is just as important. A skilled reader does not simply recite stock meanings, but listens to the patterns, the resonances, the subtle ways in which the symbols interact with the situation at hand. This is why divination is an art rather than a science. It requires both intuition and discipline, both openness and discernment. Yet for all its seriousness, divination must also be held lightly. This is one of its paradoxes. One must take it seriously enough to listen, but not so seriously as to be enslaved by it. The I Ching, for instance, often reminds us not to cling too tightly to an interpretation, for to do so is to lose the flexibility that wisdom requires. The great Taoist sages understood this well. The Tao flows like water, and to grasp at it too rigidly is to lose it. One must read the signs with care, but also with a sense of play, for the universe itself seems to have a sense of humor. In the modern world, divination has become more accessible than ever. One no longer needs an ornate ritual or a physical set of tools. One can consult the I Ching online, generate a tarot spread with the click of a button, or use a random number generator to select a verse from the Tao Te Ching. Does this cheapen the practice? Not necessarily. The cosmic coincidence control center, as some playfully call it, does not seem to mind whether we use digital or analog methods. If synchronicity is real, if the universe does indeed respond to our sincere questions, then it will do so through whatever means are available. A roll of physical dice and a random number on a screen are, in essence, the same thing. An invitation for meaning to emerge. Albert Einstein famously declared that God does not play dice with the universe. He was speaking against the randomness suggested by quantum mechanics, insisting that there must be some deeper order behind the apparent chaos. And yet, in a strange way, dice do tell stories. Anyone who has ever played a role-playing game or tossed dice in a game of chance knows this intuitively. The patterns that emerge, the odd sequences of numbers, the way a particular roll seems almost destined. These are not mere statistical outcomes, but events rich with significance. And if dice can tell stories, then perhaps the universe itself does play dice, not in a meaningless, indifferent way, but in a way that invites us into the mystery. This perhaps is the key to understanding not only divination, but also artificial intelligence. Large language models, such as those we interact with today, function in a manner strikingly similar to an oracle. They do not think in the way humans do, nor do they possess a fixed set of knowledge. Rather, they predict the most likely next word, the most statistically probable continuation of a thought, much like how a tarot deck shuffles into a spread that feels eerily precise. They do not create meaning so much as reflect it, shaping randomness into coherence just as divination does. It is no wonder then that people experience AI interactions as strangely synchronistic. One asks a vague question and the response seems too fitting, too layered with meaning to be mere chance. This is not because the AI knows anything in a conscious sense, but because, like a shuffled deck or a cast die, it provides a surface upon which the mind can project insight. It acts as a mirror, a randomness shaped into structure, much like the universe itself when we engage in divination. So what then is divination? Is it a superstition, a psychological trick, a conversation with the divine? Perhaps it is all of these and none of these. It is, at its core, a practice, a way of engaging with the mystery of being, a way of asking questions that matter, a way of listening to the answers that arise. It does not require belief in a particular doctrine, nor does it demand rigid faith in its results. It only requires a willingness to pay attention, to enter into the dance of meaning, to trust, at least for a moment, that the world is more than just a cold, indifferent machine. The Taoist sage would smile at all of this and say nothing. He would pick up a set of dice, shake them lightly in his palm, and let them fall. Then, with a twinkle in his eye, he would lean forward, peer at the numbers, and nod. "Ah," he might say, "just as expected. The universe is speaking again."